You find me at Fordale Quarry above Horton in Ribblesdale, and the reason I've come here is that you can see in this old quarry a very distinctive line. At the bottom you can see black rocks with this kind of lines in, going in zigzaggy all over. Then on the top there's flat ones, grey ones. And this is the very root of what's going on in the dales. The bottom rocks have been folded and faulted, and the top ones were laid down on top of those. It's called an unconformity, an angular unconformity. And there's a gap of about 70 million years between the bottom of the flat ones and the top of the angular ones. But I'll explain that in a video at home, which I'll supplement to this. So after walking up a bit, you get an idea of the kind of slaty nature. These are those black rocks at the bottom, and up there you can see the limestones. So having climbed up, there it is. It's probably the best field example of an angular unconformity I've ever seen. I'm going to work my way over there. So I think you can see the beds going left and right, so maybe a chevron. So it wasn't a fold, it was just the faces that it's been quarried at. But there you can see the angular unconformity. Fantastic. So I've climbed up to where the rocks actually meet. Those lower angular ones are deep water sediments laid down in the Silurian period. Then there's that line just to the left of the tree stump, sort of going along there. That line represents an old land surface, and there's a gap there, literally and figuratively, where the Devonian period should have been. So that's a 70 million year gap, and then sitting on the top of those you can see these nice horizontally bedded carboniferous, lower carboniferous limestones. Fabulous. I'll explain what's going on in more detail later in the vid. So this will just give you an idea of where I've come to. I've climbed right up. You can see down there, Fordale cottages, looking across and past the tree to the left now. That's Pennygent, covered in snow, and you can't really see it, but that's where I'm going next. So from the opposite side of the valley, on the way to Horton, you get an idea of the scale of the quarrying operation that's going on here, and still going on here. Talked to the quarry guys, but because of COVID they won't let me in. Interesting that even at a distance you can see that unconformity very clearly. Those flat rocks lying on top of the angular ones all the way along there. Bit of macro geology thrown in today. There's Pennygent. You can clearly see the stepped nature of it. Millstone grit sitting on top of the Yodales series, which is sitting on top of the great scar limestones, which are the ones in the foreground. A bit bleak up there today, so I shan't be venturing up. So you can't really come up here without stopping at the Ribblehead Viaduct. 24 arches on the Settle Carlisle line. So away from us is north. Behind it are the slopes of Whernside, which is one of the three peaks behind me, and where we stopped earlier was Pennygent. That is Whernside, and over in this direction, over to the left, is Ingleborough, and we're going to stop and have a look at that on the way to Ingleton. Okay, so I'm here at Chapel le Dale, So the green valley bottom you can see in the distance, that's lying on those dark beds that we saw at the quarry with the unconformity. To the left hand side, these big long lines of rocks, that's a scar, so that's in the Great Scar limestone, which sits immediately on top of those. And then Ingleborough's there, you can kind of make out on the far edge, those are the Yoredale series. And then what you can't see on the top is a cap made of millstone grit. I'll come back and do this in the summer, but that just gives you an idea of the geology of what's going on. And then you see it on the other side forming those steps, and from further round, Kingsdale's on the other side of there. Another good clue when you're out geologicking, have a look at the dry stone walls, because people tend to use what's nearest to them. Very clearly these rocks are not the limestones that you can see higher up. So that'll give you some clue that somewhere there are local rocks that are different. I thought I'd just stop off here on the way home just to show you. This is Giggleswick Scar near Settle. Settle's in the distance there. This is the line running north-south. I'm looking south of the South Craven Fault. So on the left is the Great Scar limestone, and to the right down where the golf course is, those rocks don't appear again for several hundred metres, so the fault runs straight away from me, all the way down that valley. It's an impressive place. It's easier to see in the winter too. Here you can see the big thick beds of the Great Scar limestone. The bottom one's probably about 4 metres, and you can see it's got bedding in it. You can see the horizontal and the vertical fissures as well. They're what's of interest to a pot harbor, but I'll go into that at another point.